Listen, I promise if you guys drop a like right now, you'll get a win the next time you hop onto Warzone. Just drop a like. All right, what is what's happening? How's everybody doing today? My name is Chuck and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're hopping in here to some Warzone to show you guys my top 5 best options to run as your loadout, your best guns to use. These things are very overpowered and they definitely are the top tier meta guns you can possibly use in Warzone. I got all the good classes for you guys, so you do not want to miss out on absolutely anything. And before we get any farther into it, if you guys have not already, make sure you guys drop a like on this video and subscribe with all notifications turned on because we're on that road to 700,000 subscribers. So if you guys could join the squad, that would be amazing. And also let me know in the comment section below, what is your go-to gun here in Warzone right now? Doesn't matter what it is, let me know. So the first gun we have to take a look at here is going to be the MAC-10. The MAC-10 is an absolutely dominant gun here in Warzone and definitely my top tier secondary of choice. So let's actually jump into this. So for me, the MAC-10, this is the Gallantry version. This actually used to have like a weird sort of bug to it where it actually gave you, I believe, some more damage, but we're not actually going to be going over that because that got patched out and everything. It doesn't really matter what version of the MAC-10 you actually happen to use as long as you got the MAC-10. So the first thing we have to do here is we're going to go to the muzzle category. We're going to go all the way down here and add on the agency suppressor for that sound suppression, that damage range. These attachments actually work very nicely. They actually are accurate to, a lot of the stuff here in Warzone. Sometimes the attachments in Warzone don't exactly do what they say they're supposed to, which is truly unfortunate. We have to kind of go through and do some weird testing to be able to find out what they do, but the agency suppressor actually does what it's supposed to, and it's going to be very good for you guys here in Warzone. So go ahead and slap this on there. For the barrel section, we have a variety of different barrels in here, but to be honest with you guys, we just want to go down to the very bottom here and add on the 5.9 task force barrel for that damage, effective damage range, and bullet velocity. The top 3 really want out of all of our Cold War barrels here, especially for the SMGs. This is actually really going to help you guys out here, and I really actually like this one. I enjoy using this. This actually does not work at all in Cold War multiplayer, but if you actually use this in Warzone, the guns are drastically different between Cold War multiplayer and Warzone. This thing is an absolute laser beam in Warzone, but in Cold War multiplayer, it kicks up like a mule. It's kind of crazy, but for Warzone, this is a fantastic barrel. Always run this. We're actually skipping over the underbarrel here just because we are not going to be running an underbarrel whatsoever. This thing literally has so much, so little recoil that we don't even really need one. So for this next attachment here, we're either going to go use the Salvo 53 round fast mag or the Stanag 53 round drum mag. It's really kind of up to you guys which you really want to use. If you can kind of deal with some of the different aim down sights penalties that the 53 round fast mag actually happens to bring you. Honestly, I've actually used both of these kind of extensively, and I do believe that the 53 round fast mag is still pretty much just as good as the Stanag 53 round drum, but there is a little bit more of a downside here with the reload quickness, but you do get a little bit more of a downside here with the ADS. So it's just kind of one of those things you have to balance out on what you can really tolerate. For me personally, I actually really like the fast mag here on this one. So just go ahead and run this. You guys should just be perfectly fine. For the rear grip, we're actually going to go in here and go down to the very bottom and out on the airborne elastic wrap for the aim down sights time, that flinch resistance, and the aim while going prone. You can basically aim while going prone really anyways, so you don't really have to have this on there just because the Modern Warfare game engine allows you to do that, unlike the Cold War one. But we really just want here that ADS time, which is going to give us about plus 30-ish% or so, and then that flinch resistance, that's just kind of is what it is. I don't think it really is that effective, but this ultimately does give you the best aim down sights time out of all the different rear grips in here. So this will ultimately be the best, even though basically 2 out of the 3 things aren't really going to be all that beneficial. Just the ADS time is going to be amazing, and you guys should definitely run the airborne elastic wrap. And last but definitely not least, we're going to go into the stock section, and we're going to go all the way down to the very bottom, and we're going to run the Raider stock. This is going to help with that sprint to fire time and that aim walking movement speed. A lot of people actually also run the SAS combat stock, so you guys can kind of swap between the two and see what actually works best for you. Ever since I unlocked the Raider stock, I've been exclusively using that, but also using the SAS combat stock has definitely helped out with even lessening the recoil a little bit more. It's just kind of those things. So definitely try out either one of these. I just prefer the Raider stock just because I end up liking it a little bit more. I feel a little bit more mobile with that. So I really end up enjoying this one. And this is going to be my full MAC-10 loadout that you guys definitely need to try out. It is super, super good, and it dominates Warzone. It's definitely a really, really overpowered and my top tier SMG to use in all of Warzone. And now covering a gun that I really actually covered here recently, and that is going to be the FFAR. This is definitely becoming one of the top tier assault rifles to use as kind of like a hybrid between the ARs and the SMGs. With that being said, let's actually jump into it. Okay, so the first thing we're actually going to go here and do is, of course, add on to the muzzle. We're going to go down here to the bottom, add on the agency suppressor. This thing works perfectly fine on the ARs. It doesn't really have any sort of caveats to it. It actually does what it's supposed to. Sound suppression, damage range, it's kind of self-explanatory. You want to be off the radar as much as possible in Warzone. That's ultimately going to help you out. I feel kind of a little bit naked when I don't have a silencer on, especially when I'm rocking around like, you know, some floor loot. So it's always good to have on that silencer right there. So just go ahead and add the agency. And if you don't happen to have the agency on any of these guns, just rock the regular suppressor until you happen to get the agency. You'll be perfectly fine. So just when you get the agency, throw it on there. That's gonna be my attachment of choice. For the barrel section here, I normally would say go down and add on the 19.5 task force, as this would give you the ultimate 3 that you really want out of your barrels. But to be honest with you guys, this just really isn't it for the FFAR. What you're actually going to want to use is going to be the 20.3 takedown barrel for that effective damage range. This is ultimately going to increase your effective damage range and kind of in turn increase your bullet velocity. So it's going to make your shots hit just that much faster. And it's got like one of those weird sort of testing things to it where, I mean, it actually has that hidden property to it. So you just kind of have to test out between the takedown, and also if you really want to experiment, you can try out the Ranger. But honestly, if you really actually want to use between one of these two barrels here, you're not going to go super wrong, especially because you're not really going to be using this gun at far ranges. This is kind of like a hybrid AR SMG. And what I mean by that is that they're running this with like a sniper or something like that, not running this with like a Mac 10. So it's not like a proper AR. It's kind of like that backup slash kind of primary, if you guys get what I'm saying. So if I was you guys, just run the 20.3 takedown if you want to call it good at that. And that's my choice. For the underbarrel section here, since we're going to throw one of these on here, there's a couple different things we can do with this. I know one of the big things here is that at least while it remains kind of unchanged and unpatched, the bruiser grip doesn't necessarily only just increase your melee quickness, it actually also does, and you know, help with your vertical slash horizontal recoil. I believe it's one of the two right there, and it's just kind of one of those things that, you know, they really haven't patched it yet, but I assume we're gonna be getting a patch here soon really anyways. But if you guys want to go with the surefire, you know, thing that's gonna be good no matter what, that's gonna be the field agent grip, and that's ultimately gonna help you with your vertical and horizontal recoil control, which is definitely what we want because this gun has a decent amount of vertical and horizontal recoil. It definitely likes to move around there all the time, and even though it has a lot of the same stats as the Ram 7, I just don't believe this competes within the same category, because the Ram 7 is a true AR when you add on all the attachments to it, and it functions fantastic as a primary. But this gun just definitely doesn't do that, and that's primarily because of the recoil in my opinion. So let's go ahead and add on the field agent grip. This will help you out the most. For the ammunition side of things, we're going right down to the very bottom. The Salva 50 round fast mag gives you the most ammo, gives you the fastest reload, and especially if you're going to be using this in closer quarters, like and you're pairing this with a sniper or something like that, the faster you can reload, the better. So just go ahead and add this on here. Until you get this, you can definitely run, you know, the other 50 round magazine, as that's an earlier level unlock. But when you happen to get the 50 round fast mag, go ahead and throw this on there. That is going to be top tier. And last but definitely not least, what we're actually going to be running is going to be the SAS combat stock. And what I should say is that when I am super close here to unlocking the Raider stock, this will be the attachment I'm going to go for. So if you guys happen to have the Raider stock, go ahead and throw that on there. This is going to give you some crazy aim walking movement speed. It's literally ridiculous, and you're going to be able to strafe around so many people. But I'm currently level 53, like only a couple thousand XP, or like, you know, less than 2,000 XP away from getting to 54. So as soon as I get to 54, I'm going to go ahead and throw that on there. But I'm going to throw on the SAS combat stock until then. And if you don't happen to have a lot of this stuff in here, you could definitely throw on, like, you know, a rear grip or something like that to increase your ADS speed. But to be honest, throwing on the SAS combat or the Raider stock is going to be incredible, and you're going to be like moving around super fast. So you're definitely going to like this one. It is absolutely crazy. So let's go and throw this on here. And this is going to be my FFAR build. This is a top tier one for you guys to use. Absolutely incredible, super good and viable. It's kind of like a hybrid AR SMG. Now for our next gun, we have the CR56 AMAX. This is an incredible AR that is now making its resurgence as one of the top tier guns to use in Warzone. Let's jump into this. Okay, so for our CR56 AMAX, I'm actually using the Shadow Realm variant. It's basically kind of more or less like an all black variant, and I do happen to have the Atlanta Phase camo on here. A lot of people like to ask me what camos I have, and to be honest, you can't really get this one anymore. For whatever reason, they have removed all of the different CDL team camos out of the shop. So if you happen to have it, then great. If you don't happen to have it, it just kind of sucks. I'm sorry you can't really happen to go get this one. But let's actually move into the muzzle category here. So we're just going to go and add on the monolithic suppressor here. Sound suppression, damage range, basically the same thing as the agency for all the Cold War guns. This is going to be your top tier silencer to run on all your modern warfare weapons. So go ahead and slap this on here. You can definitely rock the tactical if you do not happen to have the mono unlocked, but I would 100% rock the mono as soon as you get it unlocked. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just 100% the best. So go ahead and rock this. this. For the barrel, there's basically only about one option we can really use here. The other two, the intruder and the squall, make this kind of more like an SMG. We're not trying to do that. We're just trying to increase that damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control, and that's exactly what the XRK Zodiac does. So this is going to be my barrel of choice. You guys should always run this. It doesn't matter if you're playing public matches, if you're playing Warzone. This is by far the best thing to throw in your CR56. So just go and slap this on here. Don't ever take it off. You're never going to find like a better barrel to use unless they somehow add like a DLC update for this thing. So just use the Zodiac. Next up in here for the underbarrel, we have a couple of different options. Some people rock with the commando foregrip, but me personally have actually been really liking using the Ranger foregrip just to help with that vertical recoil and help me with that longer range combat, because we are throwing a sight on this thing to try and make it as effective at that medium to a little bit longer range as possible. We really want to be able to control that recoil, and for me personally, I feel like this thing does happen to have a little bit of recoil, but it definitely hits really hard. So it's just kind of, you know, it goes hand in hand. It hits really hard, it's probably gonna have more recoil. So we're gonna go throw on the Ranger here to kind of mitigate that as much as possible. If you guys feel like you can handle it and would like a little bit more mobility, go ahead and throw the commando. Nobody's gonna stop you, but for me personally, the Ranger is gonna be my best bet. For the ammunition, I mean, we only got one option here, and that's the 45 round magazine. So we're just throwing on the 45. I mean, that's literally all you can do. So just throw it on there. And then for our optic, we're gonna go all the way down in here to the VLK 3.0 optic for that 3x zoom level, and this is going to be by far the best optic to use. If you do not happen to want to use the VLK, you can definitely throw in something like the Corp Combat Hollow Sight, throw in like the Blue Dot or something like that. But for me, I really only enjoy running the VLK on this gun, and so I feel like that this is going to be the ultimate setup for you guys to use on your CR56 AMAX. This thing is a tank, super good, very good AR. I really like it, and it definitely stays on my classes, my loadouts at all points in time, just because it's always that good. Next up in here is going to be the AUG. This thing is definitely emerging as an amazing tac rifle to use from Cold War. Definitely not the Modern Warfare AUG. This thing is a lot more viable, and I really enjoyed it. I was dominating with it, so let's jump into it. Okay, so this is the AUG. Obviously, first thing we're going to do here is go into the muzzle category, add on the agency, silencer, or suppressor, whatever you want to call it, sound suppression, damage range. You guys already know the drill. I'm not going to explain it here again. So the next thing we're going to do is hop into the barrel category, and this is kind of one of those things that's actually a little bit more glitch, kind of like the underbarrels for a lot of the ARs. So for this, we're just actually gonna have to go in here, and we can't really use the task force just because this really doesn't do exactly what it says it's supposed to, unfortunately. So a lot of people, what they do is they debate between the titanium barrel and the 18.2 strike team barrel. Personally, I've actually used the 18.2 strike team barrel you know, a decent bit, and I actually find this to be very viable. I mean, some people prefer the titanium. I know they use the titanium on the DMR, but for me, whenever I've used the AUG, I've tend to found better success using the strike team barrel. So just go ahead and add on the strike team barrel here, try it out. If you don't feel like you're getting enough success with it, add on the titanium. It'll definitely be good that way, but unfortunately a lot of these barrels don't do exactly what they're supposed to, and the Cold War stats kind of lie, or they have hidden, you know, traits to them. It just is what it is. Hopefully we'll get a patch that will sort all this stuff out. We can go back to using, you know, the stats or the, you know, the attachments that, you know, actually do what they're supposed to. So use the 18.2. For the underbarrel, we're just going to keep this very simple, and we're going to use the field agent grip, vertical and horizontal recoil control. This is definitely going to help out. It's going to be super awesome, and if you really want to, you can use something like the Bruiser if you want to try that out, but at least for this, this is going to be my best bet here, my surefire bet to control that recoil, and it definitely does have a bit of recoil in that burst at some range, so you definitely want to make sure you're controlling as much recoil as possible. So go ahead and run the field agent. For the ammunition, I'm actually going to go ahead and add on the Salvo 54 round fast mag here. I actually enjoy having 54 rounds in my magazine, at least in Warzone. It makes me feel that I'm going to be able to compete with, you know, multiple different people. I don't have to reload instantly, and the fact that this actually is a burst, I'm gonna get a ton of different bursts off before I have to reload, and that is awesome. So always run the Salvo 54 round fast mag, and if you feel like maybe you don't necessarily want to run that, maybe run the drum or something. That's just going to be your other best bet to have the most amount of ammo possible. But for me, the Salvo 54 round fast is going to be my go-to, and it should be for you as well. From my optic in here, we're actually going to go and add on here the Axial Arms 3x optic, and whatever optic you use is kind of up to you. I know the AUG has a built-in optic, but for me playing Warzone, I've really found a liking, or I've tended to take a liking to the Axial Arms 3x. This is a very good sight and helps out with, you know, the magnification and being able to use the AUG to its strength, which is actually picking people off at that medium range. You're not really going to pick people off at super long range just because, you know, the burst and the way it actually, you know, kicks up and stuff, but at that medium range, this thing is amazing. And so using the Axial Arms 3x is going to be awesome, and you guys should definitely use this. This is my AUG setup, and I made a video on this already dedicated. I was shredding with it. So you guys have not seen that one, you guys can definitely go check it out. Last but definitely not least, we got to keep on the trusty M4A1, a staple to my Warzone loadouts and my multiplayer loadouts. It doesn't matter, the M4 is always good no matter what, and it definitely tends to stay in the meta. Okay, so this is the Wages of Sin variant. This is a tracer. If you guys want to go get that one, you definitely can here, but now let's jump into the muzzle. Of course, we're going to add on the mono suppressor like I've stated previously, the best suppressor for the Modern Warfare weapons. So we're going to go and add this on here. Sound suppression, damage range, not going to go over it. You guys already know the drill. So we're going to add that on here. Now we're into the barrel section, and this is kind of where it gets to be a little bit more personal preference or a little bit tricky. So we're going to disregard the Commando, the Tac Light, and even the Predator barrel, and you basically only have two others to focus on, which is the Corvus Custom Marksman and the stock M16 Grenadier barrel. But for me, when I'm playing Warzone, I'm always going to use the stock M16 Grenadier barrel just because it's going to give me the most damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. The Corvus Custom Marksman definitely will still give you all of those three, but you will get more of those three with the Grenadier. The only thing is that you're going to have a little bit less mobility, so it's just kind of one of those things like, do you want to sacrifice some of those three for a little bit more mobility or not? For me, I'm always going with the stock M16. I want to be able to take people out as quickly as I possibly can, so this is my barrel of choice. For the underbarrel, we're just going to keep this very simple. We're just going to go with the Commando foregrip, recoil stabilization, aiming stability. Super easy. We don't really got to get too crazy with it. If you really want to, you get out of something like the Ranger foregrip if that makes you feel a little bit better on your recoil control. But I mean, I'm using the Commando and I'm still beaming kids. It's an absolute laser beam. So for me, I don't really think I need that. But if you are just having a little bit more trouble with that recoil control, like I said, go add on like the Ranger and you'll be perfectly fine, perfectly taken care of. Of course, there is a little bit more of a mobility cost to it. So if I was you guys, I'll just stick with running the Commando, and this is going to be a great build for you. For the ammunition, you guys already know the drill. I'm a 60 round magazine kind of guy, so I'm always going to run the 60 round magazine if I have the option. The other two, like the Para 32 round and the .458 SOCOM, those things are absolute balls. Like they're trash. They're really just trash. Dog water, whatever you want to call them. They're terrible. Don't ever use them, but just go and use the 60 round magazine on this thing. It is great, fantastic, definitely my attachment of choice. Pubs or Warzone, doesn't matter, I'm still using the 60. Last but definitely not least, we're going to be adding on an optic here, and as you guys can probably tell, we're going to go down to the VLK 3.0 optic. This is a fantastic gun to have the VLK on because the recoil is very manageable. You have a really good distance on your time to kill, and it's not going to be too many shots. So this is going to be a fantastic gun for you guys to use at that medium range. You can even still pick people off at that long range, and just because, like I said, it doesn't have that much recoil, it's going to allow you to be able to actually pick those people off. So this is my M4A1 build. This is my last gun to use here in my top 5. This is definitely a gun that has stayed on my multiplayer and my Warzone loadouts basically since day one, just because it's so good and it never falls out of meta. Seriously, never. Well, that's all I got for you guys here within today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, give it a like, subscribe with all notifications turned on. Make sure you guys comment on the comment section below. And with that being said, I'll see you guys back here again tomorrow with a brand new video. Just run out, Triple Cap, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.